If there's one complaint I hear more than any other from sales professionals, it's that the sales process that they have takes too long. Prospects tend to fall out of the sales process, meaning they get stalled. And then the sales professionals are kind of stuck at what to do next. The problem in this case, if you're facing this situation, is that you're not building enough urgency early on in the sales process. And today that's kind of difficult, right? Because prospects are faced with so much information. They're trying to decipher that information, they're trying to research it, they're trying to bring other people as part of their buying team to talk about, what do you think of this service? What do you think of this product? And let's get your feedback and let's get your research. So that can take time, but you as a sales professional can still build urgency. Window of making the sale here, and the buyer may expand that further. You can still use questions and different strategies to keep it within a reasonable period of time. And if you don't, you risk losing the sale. So let's talk about how you can build urgency in your sales to try and get those buyers to commit so you can move on to the next sale. Hi, I'm Shawn Casemore, and I help you learn how to be a top performing sales professional so that you can sell more in less time and earn more money in less time. If that sounds good to you, make sure you click that subscribe button so you can be notified each and every time I release a new video. If you like this video, click like. That ensures that the algorithms that be share it with others and we can help one another. Now, let's get into building some urgency in your sales process. In every sales conversation you have, there's a power question I want you to use at the very beginning that helps build urgency. And this is gonna sound a little bit overly simple, okay? But here's the question I want you to use. So you've had an initial conversation, learned a little bit about them and their situation, you've shared a little bit about maybe your product, your service, the value that you bring, obviously, and then you ask this. You say, may I ask you a question? Your buyer will say, yeah, sure, go ahead. You say, well, how soon do you really need to blank, right? How soon do you need this service to be introduced? How soon do you need this product on site, right? How soon do you need to achieve the results that our service will achieve for you? That kind of question plants just a tiny, tiny seed in your buyer's mind as to, okay, does that mean that there's some limitation here? Like, do they not have enough? Is it going to take a while to produce this thing? Maybe they don't have the capacity, right? And when you build urgency, it's not about one thing. It's about planting seeds throughout the sales process that builds urgency. So I want you to ask that question, not at the very beginning. Make sure you've had some initial conversations. You're talking about your product or service. I mean, they have to have an idea what it is you're selling before you can ask that. But once you get the feeling like, okay, this is going pretty well, I'm getting the information I need, but you've not really reached a quote or proposal stage, you're not at that point yet, you just simply ask that question. Now, if they say to you, well, why do you ask? You say, well, there is limited capacity, and I just wanted to make sure I'm upfront with you about that, just to understand when you expect to move forward. Okay, but again, tiny seed, that's the power question. Let's get to the next step. You have to approach every sales conversation with an inquisitive mindset. That is, asking questions. Now, I realize I talk a lot about questions, but there's a reason for it. You see, questions demonstrate interest in our prospect. And if you want to build trust, you want to build a sense of urgency, if you want to build a relationship that lasts a long time, you've got to show interest. You've got to demonstrate interest in your prospect. Now, there's more ways to do that than just asking questions. But in our sales process, and specifically in the discovery session, we've got to ask questions to figure out what is the need, can we satisfy that need, and how do we position the sale so it does satisfy that need and add value, right? Adds value to the entire relationship and obviously the relationship that you're building. So questions allow you to demonstrate interest. They allow you to learn from your prospect as to what's important to them. You can use questions to demonstrate urgency. You just build on that earlier question and plant seeds of other questions along the way. So let's say for a moment that you say to your buyer, well, what would you like to achieve by purchasing our product? Or what are the outcomes you're seeking? Right? Whatever your normal question is. And they say, well, we really think your product's going to come in handy and we've been having quality issues over here. And you say, okay, great, that's interesting. So I asked you earlier how soon you'd like to achieve these. On a regular basis, what do you think the volume would be? See, there's a question that leads them to believe, oh, hold on a second, does that mean that they can't ship the volume I'm looking for? Or let's convert that to a service. One of the questions that you would plant and ask throughout the sales process is, well, how soon then? We've talked about how quickly you'd like to achieve the results. How soon would you like to get started? I'm just curious. Right? Again, it plants a seed relative to, oh, hold on a second, are they not able to start next week, next month, next year? Again, because the prospect often doesn't tell you that. So you can use questions and plant these seeds throughout the sales process that will just get your prospect thinking a little bit more about, okay, hold on a second, right? There's some constraints here I need to be aware of. Now, if they ask you outright, hey, you've asked me a lot of questions about when we get started and what this looks like. Are you not able to take on our business? I mean, that's the worst possible question you could get. To which you respond, oh no, not at all. I'm just making sure that we're able to meet your timelines as you've suggested. Boom, there you have it, right? So when it comes to building urgency, think about these questions, simple questions that you can ask that demonstrate to your buyer that, hold on a second, maybe we've got to make better plans here relative to using you. And they're all about building that idea of limited capacity, right? Limited volume, limited capacity. It's the same thing that happened during, I'm not going to say the word, but in 2020 when stuff didn't go well, why were customers coming out of the woodwork looking for products or services from your company? The reason? They believed there was limited capacity. And in some cases there was, but we can still use that perception without misleading anybody, without lying. We're simply asking questions and letting them make some determinations. If they ask us an outright question about availability, we can say, oh, absolutely, there is availability, depending on the need, depending on the client, depending on who's available, depending on the product that you're seeking, absolutely can likely meet your needs. Just want to make sure that we can. So plant seeds, use questions to build urgency. The last thing I want you to do when it comes to building urgency is use what I call the assumptive close question. Now, if you've watched my videos, and then if you haven't, I don't know why. I mean, there's lots of them, tons of them. They're all free, watch them. I hope you'll find them helpful. But if you have watched them, what you've noticed is I love the assumptive close. Not because it's something that's pushy and assertive, I mean, that's good, but it's because it really allows you to test where am I at in the sales process. Because if you think you're about to close and you use an assumptive close and you're not about to close and your prospect says, hold on a second, okay, then you have a chance to back up. Rather than you rush to a proposal, it goes nowhere, they ghost you and you never hear from them again. Okay, so that's my goal with an assumptive close, but there's an assumptive close question you can use that will allow you to build urgency. Okay, here it is. And again, you're gonna have to adjust this depending on the product or service that you sell. But generally, here's the question you'll use. Before we go any further, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, I just wanted to double check again on when you were seeking to have this shipped, introduced, launched, set in place, right? Again, whatever it is you sell, you insert that word. And then you wait, you sit and wait. And they're gonna say, oh, well, we were thinking about X, we were hoping about Y. Here's how you respond when they answer. Okay, I think we can do that. I've just got to double check kind of what's in the queue right now. And we always have opportunities to move things around if it's really important to you. So just let me check, I'll get back to you. I think that's definitely possible. See what I did there, right? I told you something that's likely true, right? You do have to check the queue. Now maybe the queue's empty, but you still have to check it to know it's empty. But the reality is I planted another seed in the prospect's mind relative to, ooh, can we actually get this done when we want to get it done? Even if they say it's a year out, we're thinking about this next summer. Okay, next summer is looking busy. Let me just double check the queue. I don't want to make any commitments I can't follow through with. Okay, so again, what I want you to notice here throughout this entire video is that you can use questions to build urgency. And by using questions, you're not making inappropriate statements, you're not misleading anybody, you're simply clarifying where your buyer's at, what their expectations are, and then of course you'll follow up with the appropriate answers. But you're planting seeds relative to, is this going to work for them? Is it going to meet their timelines, which allows you to build urgency. So hope you enjoyed this video. I'd encourage you, try some of these questions. If you've got your own questions that build urgency, comment below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you should. You'll get notified each and every time I release a new video, which is typically every week or so. So make sure you do that. Check out some of these videos next, because there's lots of them. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video.